You tasked me to provide an assessment of the Gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business. Where should I begin? Beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond human consciousness must focus with such intense coherence that the frequency of the energy pattern which comprises that consciousness, that is, the brainwave output, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency have to differentiate from there. No sense of area. Energy in infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Common Anomaly Podcast. You're listening to Season 3, Episode 3. I'm your host, Stuart James. Joining me today is Clayton James. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing really good today.
Excellent. We're back in business. Feels good. We had a little hiatus. We had to take care of some family business, but we're back in the swing of things now. We had to take a little time because our grandmother Gertrude passed away at the age of 93 just last week, and so we had to take the requisite time to mourn and say our goodbyes and pay our respects and spend some time with family to honor her memory, and we took the time to do that. Yeah, so sorry folks if you had to wait, but some things are just more important than podcasts sometimes. We're thinking about our family and our mother and her siblings, keeping them in our thoughts as we move forward, but the show must go on, so we're back for another episode today. And it feels good. It feels good to get back into the swing of things. I'm really excited for this episode. We're talking about psi phenomenon, more specifically, remote viewing.
Oh, you had me worried there for a second because I was like, I did all my research on remote viewing.
Well, I think you'll find my attitude towards this is that all psi phenomenon, psychic phenomenon, is all the same thing. It's all the same phenomenon. Maybe we'll dig into that a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, we're going to needle in specifically on remote viewing. If you're not familiar with that term, if you don't know what remote viewing is, it's basically the ability to remotely view through your mind distant places, objects, whatever information you need, or times, whatever you need to glean, you can. So that's really a modern designation. It's more of a technique. Isn't that what just psychics do, or any mediums have been doing for hundreds of years? So really, the term remote viewing came about during the Cold War in the early 1970s, where this got militarized.
Yeah, that term became popularized through an attempt to weaponize precognition.
Yeah.
Basically.
Psychic espionage, basically. The CIA knew that the Russians had their own psychic warfare division and were conducting their own research into this. The Americans decided, well, we need to do the same thing.
Yeah, if they're doing it, we got to do it.
Yeah. And it all started in the early 1970s with this guy, Ingo Swann. He was like the first superstar remote viewer. Yeah. But it was happening, I forget the university, it was a program called SRI. I should actually pull
Stanford.
up my notes. Yeah, Stanford
Research Institute.
Yeah, and it was Russell Targ and another gentleman. Here, I just actually have to open my actual notes. I should have done that.
While you're doing that, interesting coincidence, the term remote viewing, Ingo Swann coined that term while he was collaborating with the Society for Psychical Research, who we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah?
They were behind the Philip experiment.
Right, of course. Okay, in Toronto.
Yeah, that was just the Toronto chapter of that society that did the Philip experiment. Bigger society than just that one chapter.
Okay, I've got my notes open now. So yes, SRI, Stanford Research Institute. The program operated between 1972 until 1995 under various titles. There was a bunch of sub-programs going on, but it was started by researchers Hal Puthoff, Russell Targ, and Edwin May. This research at Stanford, very kind of basic stuff. You know the scene at the beginning of Ghostbusters when they're like, hold up a card, and it's like, is it a star or is it a square? They were doing that kind of stuff.
I've been doing that all week.
Yeah, that's right. We've been doing our own research, right, which we'll get into. But so they're doing that type of basic psi research, trying to see how many hits they can get. And in comes this guy, Ingo Swann. who says, give me something more challenging than this. This is so basic. And they say, send someone out into the city, into the San Francisco area, and I'll tell you what they see, what they do, what they encounter. This experiment is very successful. They're blown away. Like, this is amazing. And they ask him, like, well, what can you see? Where can you go with this ability? He said, anywhere in space and time. Mm-hmm. And that's what spurred off the development of this technique, where it's kind of a double-blind study, where in order to verify this stuff, so it's like the researcher doesn't know the location, the remote viewer, the psychic doesn't know the location, they just get a series of coordinates. Yeah. So you just get a couple numbers. Yeah. And then the viewer has to try and glean whatever information is at this location via these coordinates. And it becomes quite successful. And the CIA gets involved and the whole thing gets militarized.
There was another fellow, his name was Robert Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute. We've talked about him before. I think we've talked about him before. So he had actually begun his career in radio broadcasting. Right. And he actually went on to form his own radio broadcasting company. He was doing research into different kind of audio techniques. And he was researching what he called hemisync, which was basically, with headphones on, be listening to a frequency in one ear and another frequency in another ear. When these frequencies combined, it would sympathetically affect your brainwaves. So he was looking into ways to induce, alternate states of consciousness through this brainwave manipulation through sound. I think he was originally doing it as a form of a sleep aid. Right. I think. Anyway, while he was researching this, he kept spontaneously having out-of-body experiences.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's when he kind of shifted gears. He was, hell-bent on going down this path of using this technology to induce out-of-body experiences and to basically aid in all altered states of consciousness. And he founded this Monroe Institute. And he developed something called the gateway process.
Right.
Which is using the aid of this hemisync technology to train yourself to develop all these psychic abilities, such as the ability to have out-of-body experiences, the ability to remotely see things anywhere in space and time, remote viewing. Yeah. The American intelligence apparatus got very interested in him because they were already working with Ingo Swann. Yeah. They wanted to check out this Monroe guy. So they actually sent an operative. His name was Wayne M. McDonnell. They sent an operative to enroll in the Monroe Institute and learn all these techniques. He wrote it all out in a document. It was declassified in 2001. It's called the Gateway Document.
Okay, you were telling me about this before.
Yeah, and this was basically the American government's handbook on how to train their operatives in all these psychic phenomena.
Okay, so this became like the training manual.
Yeah.
If it was still going on today, this might be a primer document they give you.
Yeah. Yeah. This was done under the auspices of something called Project Sunstreak, which was one of those projects you mentioned. That was a project that operated between, I believe it was 1977 and 1991. In 1991, it was rolled into Project Stargate. But basically, Project Sunstreak was specifically focused on remote viewing, on the weaponization of remote viewing during the Cold War.
So this is like the men who stare at goats stuff. Make someone have a heart attack from a distance using your mind.
Well, that was Project Stargate.
All right.
Project Sunstreak was specifically remote viewing. It was strictly intelligence gathering through remote viewing. One of the star pupils of Project Sunstreak was a man named Joseph McMoneagle. Yeah. He was known as Remote Viewer Number 1. That was his code name. He went through this gateway process to train his mind, and he was the remote viewer with the highest success rate. He's the guy people would point to and they say, is this really worth taxpayer money?
And they'd point to him because he had such a high success rate.
Yeah, and we can talk about the targets. What were his targets? I'm using air quotes when I say targets. Yeah. So he was tasked with spying on this new submarine that the Soviets were developing. Yeah. They wanted technical specifications and schematic drawings of this submarine. Joseph McMoneagle, he actually managed to produce very detailed drawings approximate schematics of the Typhoon class submarine.
Yeah,
that the
I remember
Soviets
this
were
one. This is probably the most famous hit when you discuss the lore of remote viewing. And yeah, I remember because he specifically kept saying it's like a double submarine. It's like a double.
Yeah,
it's like a double submarine because it has a dual hull.
Yeah, because he initially made his drawing of what this submarine looked like, and his superiors told him that wouldn't work.
No, that doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. You must be wrong.
The way this is shaped, this would not be seaworthy.
At the time he was doing the viewing, and he said this is going to launch in 120 days.
Yeah.
And 118 days later, it did launch, the first Typhoon class submarine.
And it looked exactly as he had described it, even though his superiors told him, like, it can't look like that. That's impossible.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's when it launched.
Yeah.
There was another one, unofficially, something he tasked himself with. This is a lesser-known story. Something he just tasked himself with to test his abilities. In the late 70s, I believe this was also in 77 or 78, a Skylab. You know, the old space station, one of the earliest space stations. Skylab was going to deorbit. It was going to come down to Earth in a very uncontrolled way.
They didn't know where it was going to land. Could have been anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, telemetry wasn't what it is today.
Yeah.
So they couldn't exactly tell when it was coming down or where it was going to land, only that it was going to come down sometime within these 6 months. And it's going to land somewhere, anywhere on the Earth. They had no way of narrowing it down. Joseph McMoneagle, he decided to task himself, I'm going to predict the date and the location where Skylab's going to crash. He managed to come within 3 days of the actual date of it crashing.
Yeah, because at the time NASA was working with like a 6-month window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the location, he went to a big wall map, and he put a pin in it in Australia. And where he put that pin was actually only 30 miles off of where Skylab actually landed.
That's pretty good accuracy, if you ask me.
Considering it's the whole of the Earth.
Yeah, considering
and a 6-month window.
And you narrow it down to 3 days.
You got it within 3 days and 30 miles.
Yeah, that's a good degree of accuracy, I'd say. I'd call that a hit. One of the figures within the whole Stargate program I looked into, which I found had a really interesting story, is a gentleman named Pat Price. And so Pat Price was a retired police officer from Burlington, California. And he was a guy, through his career as an officer, kind of had a reputation. He developed a reputation for just having really accurate hunches. Mm-hmm. He didn't know where the suspect was going to be, and somehow he just had an instinct. Mm-hmm. And had a great deal of success through his career policing in this. And then got into retirement. I don't know exactly how he got connected to the CIA program and Stargate, but he ended up being one of their most successful remote viewers. And him and Ingo Swann, when this was all just getting started, the CIA wasn't sure if this was working or not. They were conducting studies, but they weren't sure what the degree of accuracy was. Was this good intelligence? How much could we count on this? CIA evaluator was working with the group, was working with Ingo, and he gave him a series of coordinates and said, okay, tell me what's at this location. Mm-hmm. And Ingo described a facility, an outbuilding with guards, a radar dish. This whole kind of encampment is like a secret government facility, and he drew a map and he had a layout. And the CIA evaluator says, yeah, no, you're totally off. I give you the coordinates to my summer home in Virginia. But they try it again. They try it with another remote viewer, and this is where Pat Price comes in. And they ask Pat Price. And Pat Price was really well known for getting like crazy detail, crazy levels of very precise detail. Mm-hmm. And so he views the targets and comes up with almost the identical information that Ingo did. There's a radar dish, there's an outbuilding, and I'm even can go into this building and there's a file cabinet, and he can open the file cabinet and he's flipping through documents and he's naming off the names of programs, classified programs, and it's like Q-Ball and Rack Up. And he actually grabs these names. Mm-hmm. The CIA guy is like, well, this doesn't make any sense. This is still my summer home in Virginia. Turns out, less than a mile away from his house was a secret NSA facility that matched this exactly. And that these programs were actual classified programs that he was naming off. Mm-hmm. And it was an NSA program spying on Russian satellites that nobody knew existed in the CIA. So all of a sudden, every other intelligence organization. At that time, nobody even knew that NSA existed,
Yeah.
right? All of a sudden, they've all got psychics.
Yeah.
They're all interested in this program, and it just branches off like crazy.
You know, it's interesting. Bit of a tangent, but you were saying this Price guy, he was the kind of guy who always got hunches.
Yeah.
So when they were recruiting remote viewers, at least Project Sunstreak, when they were recruiting remote viewers, the types of people they would look for positions within mainly the military, but civilian as well, that had a high mortality rate. If you're this kind of operative within the military, what's your shelf life? You know, if you're expected to, in this particular position as an operative, if you're expected to survive only for 6 months, they're going to look at people in those positions. Okay, but who's survived longer than that? Who's been at this for like 10 years as an operative? Those are the people that survive in those positions longer because they seem to get those hunches.
They got a spidey sense.
Yeah, seem to get those flashes of intuition.
Yeah.
Those are going to be kind of naturals at remote viewing. They're going to be easier to train in this technique.
Well, and the whole idea, and I mean, this is why I like this topic, very much fits within the thing that makes our show different, at least what I'd like to think makes our show different, Common Anomaly. We very much try and experience these things for ourselves, you know, and not just be armchair podcasters, I guess, that just read things off the internet and spit into a microphone. We try and seek out these experiences for ourselves, trying to be safe while we do so, trying not to raise demons, but as much as possible to have these experiences. And that's the thing I like about remote viewing and psi phenomenon, is you can do it yourself. Everybody has some degree, setting aside all disbelief, everybody should have some degree of natural psychic ability. But it's a muscle. You have to hone it. You have to practice. You have to work out that muscle to make it stronger. But of course, everybody's going to have a range of aptitude. Some people will be more natural talents at it than others. But anybody can work at it and develop this technique.
Well, I mean, you can. I don't know how well I did.
Well, you're not trying very hard. Yeah, so let's dive into that. That's a good segue into that. So you and I have both been playing with this app because, again, we wanted to explore this for ourselves. And yeah, there's no reason anybody can't employ this CRV, controlled remote viewing technique, for yourself. And there's a handy little app. I'll link to it in the show notes. You can find it. It's called RV Tournament. And basically it gives you a set of coordinates and a blank sheet of paper, right? And that set of coordinates, it's just 2 4-digit numbers. And that's your coordinates for whatever you're supposed to be visualizing. And then you get a blank sheet of paper on your screen where you can sketch what you see or write down notes or whatever. And then when you think you've got it, you hit the check mark, and it gives you 2 options of 2 different photographs. And one of them is the target.
Yeah.
And then you can pick which was closer to whatever you visualized, whatever your notes were. And there's a little sliding bar so you can give a degree of confidence. You know, how closely does the image align with what you were visualizing? And then it gives you the answer 24 hours later. And so I've been playing around with this. You've been playing around with it a little bit. I found it's really quite interesting. I'm getting a lot more hits the more I work with it, the more I do it. It definitely feels like your success rate is influenced by what's going on. Like, I've tried doing it in my office at work when there's people walking around in the hall or whatever. You don't do as well under those circumstances. But I find when I really take the time, prepare my mind, make sure I've got solitude and everything is quiet and I can kind of focus, I'm having better success.
Yeah, so you went about this in a much more disciplined way than I did. You were kind of filling me in on how it was going throughout the week, and it seemed like you were doing it every day and you were being very disciplined about it, and you were gradually getting better and better and better results with it as time went on. I went about completely the opposite way. I was very undisciplined. I was working on that other project for the show.
Yeah.
That whole other project, so this was kind of on the back burner, is working on this remote viewing stuff. I just tried it once. Last week, I got a hit. It was like eerie.
Right away. Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, what I drew was exactly the picture
Oh, that's
I got the
right.
next
I
day.
remember you showed me. It was like a construction site or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. What I drew was like exactly that. I was kind of satisfied with that. I'm like, yeah, I guess I knew I was the chosen one. And then I kind of just set it down for a while. But, later on, I was playing around with it, and I tried a few more. Didn't get a single hit. Not even close. Worse than coin flip odds. Like everything I was drawing or predicting, the target was like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
But then I tried it again yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually saw the target today when it showed me. Perfect hit. But I noticed a weird correlation. I get better results if I'm experiencing some sort of heightened emotion. The first one I did, I drew the sketch Tuesday night last week. I was feeling pretty upset, and I saw the target the next day, 24 hours later. I was also having a moment where I was feeling pretty upset, and it was spot on. It was eerie how spot on it was. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I tried it again. I was feeling really irritated when I drew the sketch, and I actually saw the target today. Popped up on my phone at work, and I was feeling really irritated with work today.
Yeah.
And I looked at my phone. I'm like, I got it.
So you're accessing negative emotional power in order to get your hits. So you're using the dark side.
Yeah, I'm taking the quick, easy path of the dark side, as Yoda would say, where you're being like really disciplined.
I'm trying to clear my mind,
even, and
get zen.
I got to clear my mind and experience inner peace.
Yeah.
And you're just gradually getting better and better at it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I'm actually up to, I think I checked, because it gives you your stats. It tracks your scores. It tracks your hits and misses and gives you a success rate. Mm-hmm. And right now, or at least as of yesterday, I was sitting at a 68% hit rate. Mm-hmm. Which is it's binary. You got one or two options. It's like a coin flip. You're going to get it right or you're going to get it wrong because you got two options, right?
Yeah.
So anything above 50% consistently is going to represent above statistical chance. All things being equal, it'd just be 50-50, right? Given over time. And obviously, the longer you do it, the more accurate that rating will be. But I found it curious that it gives you a ranking based on like everybody who's using the app in the world. And it occurred to me, what if this is just some subversive recruitment program? What if you log into this app and sign up and you just get hit, you're like 100%. Is like some government spook going to knock on your door and you're going to get recruited into one of these shadowy government programs?
Well, you know what? It would have to be something almost like that. So in 1991, Project Sunstreak, it got rolled into Project Stargate.
Yeah.
And Project Stargate was shut down in 1995. Officially. Now, the reason being is they did find, studying this phenomenon, remote viewing specifically, that there was enough there.
Yeah.
Where they were like, there's something to this. Yeah. This
I think
this works.
Yeah.
Enough that it is more than just coincidence. It can't just be coincidence.
If I can add a point to that, I don't want to derail you, but I think it's Joe McMoneagle who got awarded the Medal of Merit, which I think is like the highest civilian military honor you can get, and it was for 200 successful missions completed under these programs, 150 which described as vital intel.
Mission critical
intel.
Yeah.
We don't get to know what those details are on any of those missions, but that sounds significant enough that he's getting these accolades.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
it speaks to the success of the program.
A lot of the very specifics are still classified, but he would do things like find the locations of hostages, or he would find the locations of downed aircraft and things like that. But anyway,
well, the Iran hostage crisis was one of the missions. The Iraq War, finding Scud missile locations in the Gulf War.
Yeah.
These are all missions that these groups were tasked with.
But anyway, they found that there's enough there that it's working.
Yeah.
Why was it shut down? Because, well, there was a ridicule factor. No one wanted to see this sort of stuff come up, as you've said before, as a line item on a budget.
Yeah.
Psychic stuff. There was a automatic ridicule there. And
then becomes a question, like, what is the government spending taxpayer money on, right? It's like...
Yeah. And generally, when the military industrial complex buys a gun. They want a gun that fires every time you pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Remote viewing's not like that.
No, it's not like
It works when it feels like working. When it works, it works really well.
I mean,
but it doesn't work 100% of the time.
That's true. It's not 100% reliable, and you usually needs to be, well, it definitely needs to be used basically as a add-on to complement other intel.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to go off of it alone. You're really taking a chance because there are hits, and we've been talking a lot about the hits, but there are also misses. Mm-hmm. And there's also a degree of personal influence where the viewer's own mind and own imagination can interfere with the results. So you can't be always 100% confident. You can't take it to the bank. But as supplementary intel, it can help verify and host with other sources of intel what's happening.
That's why it was officially shut down. You know, if we're going to weaponize something, we want a weapon that fires every time we pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Officially. Is it still going on in an official capacity? Almost certainly.
Well, I have a theory about this, because when we first cooked up this topic, I had something slightly different in mind. I wanted to look at more specifically the business of remote viewing. Mm-hmm. Because there are firms out there, private companies, that you can go to and hire their team of remote viewers for whatever you want, whatever intel you need.
You know, I forget what it's called because I don't have it here in my notes, but I believe Joseph McMoneagle actually founded such a company when he retired from the military.
McMoneagle?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I believe he did.
Maybe. I know one of the other people connected, I forget who it was, Lynn something. Anyway, I know he has a company as well. But I found this one. I just have their website up here. SciTech Intelligence. So this is interesting. SciTech was founded in 1989 by a 4-star general and a DIA intelligence officer who ushered top secret information collection technology, currently known as TRV, or Technical Remote Viewing, out of the Pentagon and into the private sector. So what if, like in so many other areas of the military-industrial complex, they got too much heat on this subject, and a quiet way to bury it, to keep it going, was just to privatize it.
Yeah.
You create a private company, and then the military, if they want those services, just hires that company. And then that company is under no congressional oversight.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do a FOIA request. It's all private.
Kind of like
it's a private
Doge.
company. Yeah, and then it's just a line item as a consulting firm.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to dig into this. I found it actually really hard to dig up specific information, again, because it's all private and there's not a lot of publicly available information. But I wanted to find out how big of an industry this is. But SciTech, they have a very interesting website. Go check it out. It's very much, that's all they do. They hire us. Here, use cases. Use cases they suggest that you could hire them for: investment opportunities, legal trouble, competitive challenges. So psychic espionage against your commercial partners.
Yeah.
Political negotiations, resource exploration. So where's that vein of gold in the ground? Where's the pocket of oil kind of thing?
I just had the most terrifying thought that someone could be conducting like psychic warfare on me right now and I would have no idea. If someone really had a beef against me, they could hire one of these firms.
Right? Imagine fiercely competing political opponents, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how divisive is politics right now? So imagine political leaders hiring psychics to dig up the secret dirt of their opponent so they could drudge it up. That's what we're talking about.
I bet this exact stuff is going on right now.
It definitely is. There's people you can go online right now and hire these people. Somebody's got to be using it, right?
And you know what's crazy? I don't know if you actually read any of the Gateway document. And this was a document published it was put together anyway in 1983. It was declassified in 2001. It's crazy to think, just reading through it, that this is a government document.
Yeah.
This is you can read it right there on CIA.gov. You can read the whole thing now that it's declassified. It's hard reading it and thinking this is an official document that the government put together. It's talking about, the holographic nature of the universe,
Right.
and if you have to pass through these different initiations to make contact with something called the absolute.
Right.
So you can transcend space and time. And I'm like, this is on the CIA's website.
Yeah. So your point is, it's a lot of very airy-fairy, woo-woo kind of terminology on this. It's kind of contrast with the form in which you're reading it.
Well, and
as
this
a CIA document.
this was from the 80s.
Yeah.
Just think how much further this is advanced and how much crazier it's gotten.
Okay, so we've been talking about this for a while, right? And we've been talking about the military projects and the CIA and the applications, very down-to-earth applications of this technique. But what we haven't discussed yet, and I think what you're saying kind of speaks to that, is what are the larger implications? If we accept, again, setting aside any skepticism or disbelief, if we accept that these studies have been done and been done in good faith, and they've determined to have a good degree of success, it's not perfect, but it's above statistical chance enough to be useful in intelligence gathering. So let's just say it's real. Remote viewing is real. Psi phenomena is real. What are the broader implications of that?
Well, I mean,
that means your consciousness is not local to your body. You have non-local intelligence. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter, right?
Well,
it implies a deeper spiritual reality to our universe than us just being these biomechanical machines. Doesn't it?
The Gateway document seems to promote a certain worldview. A lot of it seems to be based on this
Love
fellow.
and light.
The writings of this fellow called, I'm going to butcher this, Itzhak Bentov. He was, among other things, an engineer, an inventor, self-taught mystic, and really popularized something called the holographic universe theory.
Okay.
In which I think that's worth an entire episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can wrap my mind around it well enough to explain it quite yet, but basically consciousness precedes matter.
Is that similar to panpsychism?
Yes, similar. But this also imagines the universe as a hologram.
Right.
Basically, all of time being in superposition, past, present, and future. It's all coexisting at the same time, and our linear progression through it is just an illusion.
Well, and that's the thing. So we know this works, at least to a degree. But how is it? What is the mechanism by which you can view the other side of the planet, but not just the other side of the planet right now, but 1,000 years in the future or 1,000 years in the past? What is the mechanism that makes that work? You have to have a way of explaining that.
Well, I mean,
if we're to accept it's real,
you
right?
have to, as the document on the CIA's website
connect to the absolute
says, you have to make contact with the absolute in order to, and the absolute is like the universal field of consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's how you transcend time and space. How do you do that exactly? It's hard for me to say because this is a very dense document. Actually, there's a huge conspiracy theory about this document because when it was originally declassified, it was all declassified except for one page. Page 25 was entirely redacted. The whole document was there except for one page entirely redacted. And there were all these conspiracy theories about what's on page 25.
Yeah.
Does page 25 contain like the hidden mysteries of the universe, the hidden secret to transcending space and time? And then in 2021, page 25 was very quietly, no pomp or circumstance, unredacted.
Yeah.
And it ended up just being a lot of just really dry technical information. So now the conspiracy theory is that the real page 25?
Well, yeah, because why redact it if it's a bunch of non-consequential information? Interesting. Well, if I can backtrack a little bit to the app we've been playing with, the remote viewing app, like you said, we had kind of different methods of going about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the trick is like in order to actually understand these things, you have to try and expose yourself to them and experience them. And yeah, like I had one particular hit that was really good I was telling you about. It was probably the first real big hit I had. Where, because you got two images, 9 times out of 10 when I was trying this, I would sketch something or write something, and then I'd hit next in the page with the two targets, the two, which one's which, and what I had sketched or what I was seeing didn't really match either photos. And you're just basically guessing at that point,
Yeah.
trying to create some kind of connection in your mind, and you really were flipping a coin. But one day I was trying it. I don't know about you, but the way I was going about this, because it's a little confronting at first, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to be psychic, but I'm about to try, right? I decided I would focus on the numbers, the coordinates it would give you, and I'd repeat them to myself out loud 3 times. I just thought threes, laws of 3, right? So I'd repeat them to myself 3 times, and then I'd close my eyes, take a deep breath, and just wait till I see. I don't know what you see when you close your eyes when you're trying to visualize something, but you get for me, it's just random shapes can kind of come in and out. You might feel twirling, or I think it's phosphenes. When you close your eyes, you don't just see pitch black.
No.
You see these little kind of floaty electric colors. You might see patterns, different things. And I've read somewhere, I don't remember where, a long time ago, that's actually residual phosphenes in your optical neural pathways, kind of lighting up, right? It's not totally random noise, or it is random. It's like random electrical activity in your brain.
Okay.
Right. And so you're looking at that, trying to get some kind of information. It's like looking at static on a TV screen and trying to see a pattern.
Yeah.
Emerge out of it.
Or, listening to the spirit box and trying to pick up the ghosts of, the voices of ghosts on there.
Exactly, right?
Out of the static.
Yeah, trying to pull some valuable information out of the noise.
Yeah.
Right? But the point is, more often than not, I got nothing, next to nothing. Or I was left kind of guessing on something very vague with little more detail than a shape. But one day, I was like, I very much see a face. I'm actually visualizing a face, and I'm getting a close-up on the eyes. And the eyes look angry. They're like angry eyes. And I open up, go to the next page or whatever, and I see exactly the face I saw in my mind. Because one of the images was this statue. It looked like maybe it was a East Indian statue.
Yeah, it was like
of
a tribal
god.
mask or something.
And
on it.
and with these angry eyes, and they're exactly the eyes I saw in my mind when I was doing the visualization. So of course, I went like 100% confidence that has to be it, and it was wrong.
And you were
it was the wrong target. I couldn't believe it.
You saw a target,
right? And well, that's the thing. And that's part of the ambiguity of this, I think, is because you're seeing both possible targets on the same page at the same time. So it's possible it was a hit, even though it wasn't the actual target, because I was experiencing both those images at the same time in the future when you get the result, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like this led me down a bit of a rabbit hole where I was just like, okay, what's happening? And I did find that I had better success when I was relaxed. Again, when I had quiet in the room, I could really focus. And I tried doing it specifically after I exercised. And so I started thinking about, is this related to brainwaves? You've heard of the flow state, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people will be familiar with that term, I think, the flow state. So it's talked about in sports and athleticism a lot.
Yeah.
Where you've practiced, you've trained, you're physically conditioned, but sometimes you're just on fire. Mm-hmm. And it's like the stars align and everything just comes super easy. You're in the zone. And I think everybody will experience this in their life in one way or another. It doesn't have to be sports or athleticism.
It can be anything.
Playing video games or driving to work in the morning, right? You can enter this state of mind. So I was reading up on research on what's going on in your brain during the flow state, because this has been studied. And it turns out it's a combination of alpha and theta waves. So baseline, you and me sitting here, we're probably in beta wave state. That's just your general going about your day awareness. Whereas alpha is more like a hyper-focused state, and theta is more like a in-between sleep and awake, like a relaxed focus, very creative, and flow state kind of sits in between, right in between alpha and theta, right?
Yeah.
So it's a relaxed focus. So I was like, is this related to other phenomena like out-of-body experiences, like lucid dreaming? Yes, they all kind of fall into this same pattern of that alpha theta, this relaxed focus. That's your Zen state of mind. So what you're really trying to do when you're trying to remote view to become a good remote viewer is to be able to access that state, that brainwave state easier, right? So if you practice meditating, if you practice whatever it is in your life that's going to help induce that state, maybe do your remote viewing session right after you wake up when you're still kind of in that hypnagogic state, and maybe you'll have better success. And that's what I found.
So what's wrong with me?
You're not trying hard.
I can only access my flow state when I'm pissed
you're
off
angry,
or I'm upset.
You're
That's
using the dark side.
That's
Clayton.
that's kind of sad.
You're using the dark side. Try it. Do that. Do it first thing in the morning right after you wake up and see if you do better. Let's both do that as an experiment and see if it works.
I didn't set out to be a dark side user. I didn't want to be a Sith.
Well, what do you think about that? That's my theory.
It's a good theory. Well, I will try to relax more.
Okay, and at the risk of rambling on, I actually did have an experience this week where I did trigger a lucid dream. I think because I'd had this daily practice of trying to do the remote viewing, it's like I was having a dream where I was trying to do the visualization as I was falling asleep, and all of a sudden, instead of the random staticky noise you get when you close your eyes, all this very precise imagery started appearing, and I realized, oh no, I just fell asleep. I'm in a dream. It didn't stick with me for very long, and that's the thing about lucid dreaming. You have to develop a habit in your waking life of questioning whether you're dreaming or not.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's how you trigger it. Because the habits you have in your daily life are the habits you will express in your sleep.
Yeah.
Most people don't go through your daily life questioning whether you're awake and whether the world around you is real. But that's exactly what you have to do.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing in that moment is you're like, take a moment to say, I'm open to whatever information is out there for me to receive.
Try that sometime. Actually, audience, go out and try that sometime. Make that a habit. Just once a day. Just really think. Am I dreaming? What am I doing right now? What was I doing before this? How did I get here?
Yeah.
Just do that every day. Make that a habit. It only takes a second.
Yeah.
And you'll find one day, eventually, you'll ask yourself that question and you'll be like, I have no idea how I got here.
What am I doing?
None of this makes any sense. I am dreaming.
Yeah.
It'll happen if you make that a habit. It will.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'll link definitely to that app in the show notes. I think people should go try it out and let us know. Give us some feedback if you try it and have some success or failure or whatever. Let us know how it works for you. I'm going to try and keep it up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of fun.
But,
and I think anything like this, it is very meditative, and I think it is a good mental practice to have. For one, to try and put yourself in that state of relaxed focus. I think is valuable. It does feel very meditative.
Just don't advertise it too much because either the CIA or CSIS is going to be knocking at your door wanting to recruit you. Unless you want to get recruited.
Not with my current results, I don't think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring that some more. I think we should do an episode at some point on just superhuman abilities. And I think this is one. But that's an idea I've heard, that there's actually people out there that have these way above average abilities in one sense or another.
Oh, absolutely.
That helps them succeed in life and succeed in their careers, whether it be investment or like a really good doctor or something.
Yeah.
How does he become so successful? And maybe it's because he's got this hidden ability to diagnose illness,
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That's a really fun rabbit hole to go down. Maybe that's an episode for the future.
I'd be up for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're doing pretty good for time. Do we want to wrap up? Do you have any final thoughts?
I think I've gotten to everything I wanted to get to in terms of remote viewing. I'm terrible at it. Stuart is definitely less terrible but you know what? I just want to do a quick plug because the reason I was so undisciplined about my remote viewing is because I was working so hard on part 2 of our little zombie apocalypse saga. That video's up on YouTube now.
Yeah, that's right. It just dropped. Or by the time you're hearing this episode, it'll be a couple days.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check out our YouTube channel. See part 2 of that series. It's really good.
Yeah,
I think you did a great job with that one.
I hope you all like it. I worked really hard on it. So yeah, go and check it out.
And definitely our planned video for February is not going to be ready on time.
No.
I think we're going to have to call your part 2 of your zombie series. I think that's going to be our February video. And then
we have something really exciting coming. We're both working on it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's
ambitious.
It's ambitious. It's really frustrating, but we're chipping away at it in the background. I don't even want to guess right now when we're going to release that. I think we have to change maybe our outlook on how we're doing videos. I think maybe we need to focus more on just the audio podcast and make videos like passion project thing. Where once in a while, especially the ones that diverge from the podcast so much, where it's like a narrative documentary you're making. Like the one I'm working on now and the 2 you've just released, they're very different from the audio podcast.
Yeah. We're still figuring this out.
Yeah, we're still feeling our way through what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should look at those as not like a monthly thing, but when we're inspired.
Yeah, they say if you're going to grow a YouTube channel, even if it's a podcast, you got to incorporate some video. So we're figuring it out. We're having fun with it.
Yeah.
But we are still figuring it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So I think we'll call it a day.
Don't forget
to like and subscribe.
That's the one.
Oh, what's the line in Ghostbusters? Remember Vakeman's psychic show? What was it called? And he had a line at the end?
World of the Psychic.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a line at the end. He just said...
Oh, that's right. He just put his hand to his temple.
Next time,
he put his finger to his temple.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that just popped in my brain. Okay, we'll leave it there. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. And we'll see you for the next episode. And good night.
Good night.